What's up, everybody? Anthony D. Mays here. I'm just jumping online. I thought that I might just do a live stream and talk about a couple of things that were on my heart. I know it's been a while, it's been a few weeks since I've done a video, and I'm forcing myself to do something that is sort of uncomfortable for me, which is to really try to make more of an effort to put content out more regularly. And it's been quite a busy time for me personally, but I see, LinkedIn Live, YouTube, what have you, as a great opportunity for me to do that, to connect with y'all, and to just do what I can to continue building relationships with all of you that are out there, figuring out how I can serve you, figuring out what your needs are, so that I can participate, and then maybe even share some things that are on my mind and get your insight and your perspective and benefit from that shared collaboration. So here I am, just doing a video. I didn't plan to do one, so just bear with me as I try to get some things together. But yeah, that's what it is. So again, just thank you for tuning in. I see a couple people joining. I know it's late. The last time I did a video, I was in daylight savings time, California. So, sorry for those of you that are on the East Coast. It just is what it is. So I can't wait until we get permanent daylight savings time. That would be nice. I'm a big fan of that. For selfish reasons, not because I think it's the right thing to do or because I'm well informed about the issue. I just like having daylight savings time. So that is what it is. But greetings to greetings to you wherever you're joining, whether in the U.S. with me or abroad. One of the things I love about social media is the fact that I can connect with people all over the world. And it's very easy to have reach around the world. So I'm very grateful for those of you that take the time out of your busy schedules just to figure out what I'm talking about, because I really ain't that important. But it's nice to be able to, just to connect with y'all. So enough preamble stuff. I want to, there's a couple of things I want to talk about. First of all, I just want to share some updates about me and some of the things that I've been doing. Second of all, let's talk Kanye just a little bit. Just a little bit. I feel like I got to speak on it. And then the big thing that I want to get to is talking about tokenism in tech. Tokenism in tech. And this is actually prompted from a conversation that I had with someone else in tech. As someone who's very visible, at least from Google. I work at Google, software engineer there. I'm very visible in diversity and inclusion efforts. Not just at Google, but in other places, in terms of just getting out there, speaking, writing articles, doing videos. A lot of you know this. And, the question sometimes runs across my mind, like, am I giving into a culture of tokenism at times? Am I doing what I do, genuinely believing that I'm representing the right things? Am I at all misrepresenting or not speaking enough about issues that come from working as someone from a different background in tech? And we'll get into all that, but let's start from the top. What's been up with me? So I've been traveling a little bit. I've had the opportunity to visit the Bay Area recently. I think last time I hollered at y'all, I was doing or attending the Blacks in Tech conference, and it was such a wonderful time. I really loved the Blacks in Tech conference. I meant to do a video about the experience, and and from the time that I got there to the time that I left, I just enjoyed, and I wish I could have stayed even longer. But it was just a great time to connect with other Black people in the tech space. To also work with my fellow Googlers who came out and showed up and was recruiting there. It was just really nice to work with them and to meet them. Hopefully, if you were at the conference, you had the opportunity to talk to them too, because there's a lot of cool people. I'll talk about them in a minute when we talk about this issue of tokenism. But it's great to be around people who are in some ways like-minded, in other ways sharing a similar experience in tech, and just to have those spaces. Within a lot of companies, I know that for people from underrepresented backgrounds, employee resource groups are really important. Even if you're from a well-represented background, employee resource groups are very important. So I'm a member of a few, and I enjoy being able to have those spaces to talk about issues that particularly pertain to the Black community or the brown community or whatever that may be. So Blacks in Tech is just one of those ways for me to connect with the community outside of where I work and to meet other professionals, other people of that nature. So it was a really great time. Really enjoyed giving the keynote as well, where I talked about some things that I think are important for us who are in tech and who are interested in bringing in the next generation. One of the things that I realized is that when I was growing up as a kid, there was no web browser that I could use. The web browser wasn't really a thing back in '92 when I was thinking about whether or not I would be able to have a path in tech. I couldn't type into the browser, Compton in Microsoft, Compton in Apple, or even Compton Google, because Google didn't exist yet. But I couldn't type in something like that and find examples of people who look like me and came from where I came from. And now in 2019, I can type in Compton and Google, and you can find me. And that just speaks to...
Okay, here's Just Saying. You can find me lyrics on YouTube.
I hope it doesn't start playing. Okay, Google, stop. I really got to figure out how to stop that from happening. So I just need to stop saying, I just need to stop saying, you know what, because things get mixed up. But anyway, I can type in Compton and you know what and find me. So that's pretty cool. And young people out there can find me. And so I think that it's important that for those of us who are, again, in tech and who come from underrepresented backgrounds, to figure out ways that we can go back to where we've come from or to other communities that aren't aware of the opportunities that are in tech and talk to them about it. So anyway, that's just a quick thing there. Let me shout out a couple of folks who are on LinkedIn right now. My brother, Ken Gibbs. So good to see you, man. I'm honored that you've tuned in. I need to call you. We need to talk. Lucas Souza, what's going on? Student at University of Chicago. Good to see you. Thank you for joining. Naveed, what's up? Thanks for tuning in. You didn't have to spend your Tuesday night with me, but I sure appreciate having you here. Denise, always good to see you. Good to see you tuning in. Kosh, hey, what's up? Jose, what's up, man? We also definitely need to catch up on one of how things are going. If I don't know why y'all haven't hired Jose yet. Y'all need to look at Jose's CV, check him out, get the brother hooked up. Cassie, what's up? Oh, sister girl, we need to talk. I need to talk to you. So I'm gonna be inboxing you soon. Things are happening. Felipe, what's going on? I hope that I'm pronouncing your name correctly, Felipe. Good to see all of you here this evening. As I was saying, I enjoyed the Blacks in Tech conference. I really wish that I had, by the way, made an attempt to join Afrotech last week. I found out about Afrotech too late, and so I wasn't able to fit it into the schedule, and I just feel horrible about that. So I'm truly sorry that I wasn't able to attend. I know that some of y'all were looking for me there. I really wish that I could have gone. So Lord willing, the plan is next year to definitely show up and just have that opportunity to connect with y'all. I want to connect with y'all. I want to meet some of y'all in person and just press palms and do all that. So I really hate that I couldn't be at Afrotech. I heard it was great. I heard it's 10,000 people there. 10,000 people is a lot. That's not normally, that's kind of a big scene for me, but whatever, I'm learning how to be more social and to connect with people. So, but if you went to Afrotech, I'd love to hear about your favorite moments and the things that you love there. Steven on YouTube, how are you? You want to know about what computer I'd recommend for casual gaming? I have no idea. I'm not that much. I ain't got time to game. I'm not at that stage in my life where I got a PlayStation and I barely play that. My kids play it more than I do. So if somebody's on YouTube and you want to ask the question about casual gaming, feel free to jump on there and let them know. let's see who else. We got some folks on Facebook. Brother James, how you doing, man? It's so good to see you. I if I ever get out to your area, I know I'm gonna need to catch up with you and just find out about how the family is. But know that I do think of you from time to time, especially when I go through the airport. So okay, cool. I'll try to keep these shout outs going as I see y'all coming in. But let's talk about Kanye. Jesus is king. So, um, if I just boil it all down, I really enjoyed the album. Matter of fact, I've been playing it pretty continuously since it came out. And so I've really loved it. As you all know or should know, I'm very much a devout Christian. And, about all I listen to nowadays is Christian hip hop, in addition to some of the new hymns that I've began growing to love and appreciate. And so, when this album was announced, I was very skeptical, and I think justifiably so. But I just love that this brother's just been very raw and just, about Jesus is Christ. I mean, I really can't ask for anything else. And I think it's rough for someone who is just newly acquainted to Christianity in such a public way to be under the spotlight. One of the most important things that you can do as someone going through this experience is really have time to just be with your family, to just really soak in everything and spend that time. And, for Kanye and his family, I know the limelight has been on him, as it always is. And so this is a very public thing. But, I appreciate the album. I've really enjoyed it and I've been blessed by it. And so hopefully you have too. And that's pretty much it. I mean, everything else really ain't my business. I'm not one of those people that likes to criticize and, stalk celebrities and trying to figure out everything that they're doing. Like, they're people just like I'm a person. And I've got my own responsibilities to take care of. So there's no need for me to spend an hour and a half talking about anybody else other than me and the stuff that I'm in. So, but I thought that I would just share my appreciation for his work on this album. And hopefully, there's some other ones that will come. Hopefully it takes some time just to, again, get more acquainted with, building up his family and doing the things there and just learning more about the faith. So he's definitely in my prayers as well as his family and all those who claim Christ. So, I just wanted to say that real quickly. I really enjoyed it. If you are so inclined, please do check it out. I think that it's a good album and one that not only have I enjoyed, but my family's enjoyed too. So I just thought I'd say that real quick and get that off my chest. Yeah. So let's talk about tokenism in tech because this is something that, again, I think about quite a bit, and I think it's important to me because I really seek to be genuine. My desire is to be genuine in how I engage with all of you and how I talk about tech and in my own background, my own history, my own experiences, and to do so in a way that's authentic, but in a way that also does not obscure the real issues that are in the tech space when it comes to being more inclusive of underrepresented talent. And so one of the ways that I try to do that is to be honest about the excellent and wonderful experiences that I've had, but then also honest about the issues that one might encounter in this space. It's not, I have to explain this to people where I work that, one of the interesting things that happens for me is that people will hit me up on LinkedIn, on other channels, and ask me point blank, Anthony, what is it like to be a black man in tech? Okay, what is it like to be a black man? I don't know of a whole lot of other groups where you're expected to get that kind of question, but I do. And, if you ask me what it's like, I'll tell you that there's never been a time like coding and program management and UX design and all these other kinds of things. Like, it's all great. The pay is very competitive compared to other industries. The barrier to access is not not as high as in some industries. I know we talk a lot about the difficult technical interviewing process for top tech companies, but not every tech company works that way. So, I see tech as being very accessible to people. And all the information is out there. If you have a computer, you got a phone, a laptop, whatever, you can learn coding, you can learn a lot of the skills that it takes to transition into a tech career. So there's a lot of opportunity. And when it comes to getting to one of the big tech companies, again, I think that though hiring processes aren't perfect, there's ways for you to study and prepare yourself. And again, the information is slowly but surely getting out there to communities that typically haven't had access to it. So one of the reasons why I'm big about putting out interview advice and talking about my own interview experience and just the things that I've had to go through in order to get to where I am is so that you are armed with information, both the stuff that worked well for me and the things that didn't, so that you can do it better than I did. So there's all those positives, but then there's also some things that you should be aware of. Like if you're trying to get into a top tech company and you're from an underrepresented population, just know that companies don't have inclusion figured out yet. Some teams may, some people may, but on the whole, you might end up in a great team. You might not end up in a great team. You might end up with a great manager. You might not end up with a great manager. You might land in an office where you find a lot of supportive people. You might not land in an office where you have a lot of supportive people. And depending upon which situation you're in, that will greatly impact how you experience tech. And not only that, but you're not going to find a lot of people who probably share your background, right? We can talk about the diversity numbers all day. The fact of the matter is that I'm not going to be surrounded by Black people in the tech space anytime soon unless I go to a place where we're all congregating. It wasn't like that in college. Matter of fact, it hasn't been like that for me since middle school. And again, that's not necessarily, that's not a bad thing per se. It's just a reality. And so I know that I'm going to be in situations where I'm the only Black man in the room, for instance, or I may be one of the very few Christians represented, whatever that may be. And so I will have to deal with situations that my colleagues who maybe are well represented don't have to deal with, or may not have to deal with as much as I do. So that honesty is important. And I think that when we talk about so first of all, let me just talk about what I believe tokenism is and how I see that playing out. So tokenism is about this attempt to signal virtuosity, to signal good practices, right? To signal that you're doing the right things by hiring people from underrepresented communities, some small sufficient number, and just publicizing them and getting them out there so that everyone thinks that you're really pushing and moving the needle when it comes to diversity and inclusion. So, it's an issue because you can put diverse people in your marketing materials all day long. If you haven't actually built from within your organization an inclusive culture, people are going to have a bad time and people are going to find out about that. One of the things that I've said for a while now is that typically we've talked about diversity and inclusion and we've had the order reversed. That is to say, typically we've thought of diversity as being the most important thing and then inclusion a very close second. And not everyone thinks that way, but I think that just by virtue of the way that we order those words, I think that there's a perception that, diversity is important. And then once you have diversity, you can start working on inclusion. And I can tell you right now that it's the other way. You've got to get inclusion nailed down. And when you have inclusion nailed down, then we can talk about diversity. So there's, I think, been an attempt by some to signal that they're diverse without talking about the inclusion piece or without addressing inclusion in an authentic way. And so then what happens is, you as an underrepresented person are won over by the marketing materials or by the videos. Then you get into these companies and realize like, whoa, what's all this about? Right. And so tokenism is not a good thing because you're signaling one thing, but on the other hand, you're not actually practicing what you say you're practicing. You're not practicing what you're preaching. So nowadays, every company has a diversity website that talks about, core values, and they may even share diversity stats. They may share a little bit about the employee resource groups they have. Many companies have this, but for some of these companies, right, the experience that you have on the inside isn't the same, and that can be a big issue, right? Which is why I think that people feel the need to reach out to me personally, one-on-one, and try to figure out like what's the real, like what's really happening. Are these companies really practicing what they're saying, or are they not? And so, for me, let's just keep it real. Like, I don't want to be anybody's token black person. Okay. That's never my goal. And one of the reasons why I do what I do is because I genuinely believe that, at least where I work, there are people working all day, every day to try to produce real, tangible, concrete change within the tech space in terms of making it more inclusive and diverse. I know these people by name. I've had the opportunity to work with them. I love the opportunities that I get to collaborate with and to help them. I see the struggles, but I see their hard work and their desire to really move the needle and change the game. So for me, that encourages me to continue doing what I do. And I think that if I honestly felt like there was a company or an organization not pursuing those things, you're not going to see my name next to that, because I feel like it's dishonest to use my story and my brand in a false or insincere way. Okay, I don't want that tied to me, because authenticity is important. Honesty is important to me. And so, do I feel like the token black person in some situations, or in general? No, I don't feel that way. There are, however, situations in which I will purposefully inject myself into a gathering or a meeting just so that people know that I'm here. What do I mean? So I try to be very intentional about showing up for local outreach opportunities at, like, schools or whatever, because I think it's important to be a representative of diversity. Right. And a lot of times by me showing up, I can ensure that people who aren't used to seeing someone who looks like me in the tech space now can see someone who looks like me in the tech space. And just being able to see me can be important in terms of changing how people think about who can and who can't work in tech. And, again, I personally feel like it's important to show up when I can. It's not uncommon for me for, like, there's a group of kids coming through to do a tour in the office. I would just tag along in the tour. Like, I would just say hi. I don't care. Hi, I'm Anthony. I'm a software engineer. I'm not hiding that. I'm going to be out there and you're going to see me. And I think that it's important for at least some people to see that and to see me not sort of hiding and disappearing. I didn't realize how important it was for me to show up and to be me until, the diversity numbers started being released from a bunch of Silicon Valley companies talking about, their workforce makeup. And when I saw that I was in, the 2% who are black working in tech, or 1% who are black in a technical role, that had an impression on me. And I realized that I could do something as a member of that 2% of that 1% to help guide tech as an industry, and even the company where I work to talk about what it's like to be in that 1% and what it means, and the difficulties and the opportunities that are presented by helping me to reach back to my community and other communities like mine. I'm talking about Compton, Long Beach, Inglewood, in the LA area, or again, Chicago, places in New York, whatever that may be, Bay Area, EPA, whatever. It's I was empowered to use tools and resources at my disposal to be impactful in the tech space. And so, I do what I can, but it's important for me to do what I can. And I've personally made the decision to do that, even if it's at the expense of upward career trajectory. Given just how much I work externally and internally as a software engineer, but also as a D&I advocate, means that I'm not spending all of my time doing technical work. It means that I'm not spending all of my time thinking about promotion and whatnot. I'm taking a significant amount of time in using that to reach the community around me so that I can better prepare the next generation. So that's what it is. And I look forward to, Jose, you were just saying that you're disgusted that we have to focus on specific targeted groups and talking about being inclusive of them and all this. And I agree largely. I think that I wouldn't say that I'm disgusted, but I look forward to a day when I'm just a software engineer and not a black software engineer, right? Yes, I'm black, but my blackness isn't what makes me sort of the software engineer that I am. It contributes, sure, but as a software engineer, I'm a software engineer because I can do the work, because I understand algorithms and data structures, because I know how to think about technical problems and problem solve, right? That has very little to do with the color of my skin or my faith or any of those kinds of things. Again, they may inform my work ethic and they may inform my approach to certain problems, but at the end of the day, I'm just a software engineer. And I would love to be just seen in that way. I think the problem is that people will see my skin color or some of these other things and draw conclusions that have nothing to do with my work. And I'm not pointing to any specific situation that's ever occurred to me, but there is a certain amount of attention that I get, because I'm not just a software engineer, but I'm a black software engineer. I'm a software engineer from Compton, or I'm a Christian and a software engineer. And I look forward to a day when it's just, he's a software engineer, she's a software engineer, they're software engineers, whatever. They're skilled at what they do. They're skilled at what they do. They're talented. We should hire them. We should work with them, right? So that's that. And I think it's interesting because I think about my life before I got to Google and my life afterwards. And before I got to Google, I wasn't part of a employee resource group. I wasn't doing any D&I advocacy work. I was just engineering. I was just building software. And I think that in some ways life was simpler because I just focused on the work. However, I was usually the only one who was like me in the room, almost very usually, right? It's not that the companies that I worked at before didn't suffer from these problems. It's just that they weren't acknowledged or addressed or dealt with. There weren't many. And I will say that it's not like there wasn't anything being done, but certainly not at the level that you see in tech now. So I say all that to say that, I appreciate that within tech, there are these what I believe are genuine and difficult conversations happening around how to make the space more diverse and inclusive, how to bake more equity into our processes and all these kinds of things. I appreciate that, but it is difficult, and it's difficult for me personally as someone who came into this industry just wanting to do engineering, but since especially getting to where I am now, having to deal with and address these much more complicated and interesting societal issues. That's not what I signed up for, but I feel like it's a responsibility that I bear. So so that's that. That's that. Let me just look through the comments real quick because I want to make sure that I want to pay attention to y'all. I want to make this a conversation as much as possible. I'm not always good at that part of it. Michael Bates, what's going on? Good to see you on Facebook. Good to have you here. Hey, Mama. Hey, Stacy. Okay. My mother-in-law's on here, y'all. I love her. So I'm just going to tell the whole world how much I love my mother-in-law. Yeah. One of the things that I've been thinking about lately is, and I said it in another video before, I want to be careful about how I represent my employer. And I know I didn't say this at the beginning because I just always assume it's true. The opinions and the thoughts that I share are mine alone. Okay, this is just me coming at you as Anthony D. Mays, and as nothing else. And so I have to be very, very careful that you all understand that I come to you with my experiences and my thoughts and whatnot, and not in any official capacity representing any official standpoint of Google's or whatever. And also I don't want to trade on their name. I want to trade on my name as Anthony D. Mays. And I want you all to know that, when you listen to me or when you email me or whatever, you're getting me. Okay. So I don't want you to think that you're getting anything secret or hidden or whatever. You're not going to get juicy insider tidbits from me, because that's not how it works. I like my job and I want to keep it. So just be aware of that. And the great thing about that is that you don't need me to give you any secrets anyway. A lot of the information that you need to be successful in tech is already out there. I think one of the ways that I can be helpful is by showing you what those resources are, so that you won't fall into the trap that I did in 2011 when I was interviewing for Google and came across the wrong information. There's a lot of bad information out there. There's a lot of people who write about interviews with top tech companies that are salty because they didn't get the job, right? So because of that, they put out information that may not be fully informed. I'll put it like that, right? So, and I'm not trying to throw shade on anybody for being open and honest about their experiences, but, certainly I think it's important to look at the whole picture, right? So for instance, a lot of people talk about technical interviewing and, they complain about why are we doing algorithms and data structures in Big O. And I think some have even ventured to say that there's something exclusionary about using those techniques for interviewing. And my whole thing is like, look, when you're building scalable software, you can't build scalable software without paying attention to these things, without understanding Big O, without understanding how algorithms and data structures work, and what it takes to do good construction of software and algorithms. So I see it as being perfectly appropriate to interview on those things and to talk about it, even if you may never implement your own binary tree at any of these tech companies. That's not really the point. The point is to be a good problem solver and to use these things as tools. And so I think that's one of those things that are often misunderstood. And so, when you come to me asking about interviewing advice, I'm going to tell you, like, this is stuff that you need to know. This is stuff that is actually useful. And even before I got to where I am, when I was working at other companies, not as big as Google, it was important for me to again, understand Big O. Like I've used Big O in context before. As a matter of fact, you can go to my website, anthonydmays.com/resume. You'll find my resume there, and I talk about Big O in the job that I was at before I got to where I am. Like it was it was actually useful for solving a real world business problem in an enterprise environment. Not a lot of people understand that, and they don't understand how that works. Because particularly in enterprise settings, you're not building for people all around the world. You're building for a department or for a team or whatever. And, that's all good and fine. But, my point is that this stuff is actually useful. And if you take the time to learn it, it helps you to do better in terms of building robust, scalable systems. Okay. So, I want you to keep that in mind. Right. So when someone's complaining about algorithms and data structures in interviews, just know that there's probably another side to that. Right. And it takes people like me getting in that, helping to inform, I think, all of you on why top tech companies interview in this way. There's another issue when it comes to talking about tokenism in tech. Okay. And I want to talk about this because I think that one of the reasons why maybe some companies feel like they need to employ those tactics, and I don't know who does or who doesn't because I can only talk about my experience having worked at Google. But when it comes to tokenism, I think one of the issues.
Sorry, I don't know how to help with that
See
yet.
it happen again. One of the ways that that a company is practicing this.
Sorry, I'm not sure how to help with that.
Never mind. Okay. I got all of this. I'm not gonna say nothing because I'm not trying to get in trouble. But one of the ways that a company is maybe practicing tokenism is when you see just people from the diverse and underrepresented backgrounds who are hoisted up to talk about why diversity and inclusion and equity matters in a company. Okay. When you see just those people getting involved in the work, when you see just those people who are speaking up, when you see just those people writing and expressing these things, I think that's a sign. Okay. Sorry, y'all. I have not figured out this technology well enough to prevent my computer from going to sleep on me in the middle of a live stream. So as you can tell, I definitely still have issues getting organized and working this stuff out right. So please forgive me. Hopefully this starts right back up and we'll pick up right where I left off. We'll see. But anyway, I was saying that a lot of times that tokenism is in play because only the people from the underrepresented or impacted groups are speaking up or writing or being put in front of the public. And that's a problem. In order for any organization, particularly at this particular point in time, to really make substantive change when it comes to inclusion and diversity, the only way you're going to be able to do this is to make sure that everybody understands that they have a role and a part. I don't care whether you're from an underrepresented background or whether you're from a well-represented background. Everybody has a responsibility to ensure that the organization is as inclusive as it can be. It's important not just for people from underrepresented groups to talk about discrimination or injustice or inequity. Okay? It can't just be those people. There has to be a partnership of, dare I say, allies or of people who aren't in those groups speaking up and participating. In tech, you do things in teams, in organizations, in groups. And those teams and organizations and groups are important. And it's important to have cohesion in the team. It's important to have safety in those teams. It's important to have understanding and strong communication. And so it's, you know, you only have a real and substantive inclusion when everyone's buying into that. Okay. So, and this is where I'm very vocal about how much I dislike bashing white people wholesale and criticizing and belittling, say, white males. I hear that all the time, like talking about white cisgender males as though they are the enemy, like all people in that category are the enemy. And I don't know if people intend it that way, but it sounds to me like people who talk about folks in that group are hostile. And I don't like that because a lot of times it requires practicing the same kinds of discriminatory, exclusionary behavior that was used against people like me and my ancestors before me. And so, the question should be, how do we make sure that people, no matter their skin color, no matter their gender, no matter their race, whatever it is, can participate in the discussion and feel like they're getting something out of it, right? Human beings are, I believe, generally self-interested and selfish and wanting to know what numero uno gets out of it. And if you don't understand that, then you're going to be surprised when you're asking people to move out of the way so that other folks can have a turn, right? And I don't know that it's necessary to do all that, right? I think that we've got to think about how everybody can participate in the discussion and feel like they're included, right? Or not even just feel. I talked about this in the previous live stream. I'm not interested about how you feel. I want you to know that you're included, right? Whether you feel like it or not, to know that you're included. Again, I go back to the example of when I joined the company. I didn't necessarily feel like I was part of the team. I didn't feel like a natural member of the club. I felt different, but that was me, right? That wasn't necessarily somebody making me feel that way. That was just me, and I didn't have, I didn't know how to bring my best self to work in a way that allowed me to be the most productive kind of team member that I could be. And the same thing for people who deal with imposter syndrome, right? A lot of times the reason why imposter syndrome has to be addressed is because people who are in that situation may not be performing at the level that they can because they're letting these thoughts keep them from taking the risks they need to in order to be successful. So we got to keep that all in mind, right? Got to keep that all in mind. I see the stream as being laggy. I know it cut out earlier, and I'm just wondering if I'm talking to the camera for no reason because I lost all of y'all a long time ago. So that's very possible, and I hope that's not the case, but we'll see. I know I cut out for like 2-3 minutes there, so let me just. I think this is a good sign. I need to start wrapping up anyway, because again, I didn't really plan to be doing a live stream right now and to be talking to people, but I'm trying to do what I can. Cool. Excellent. Sounds like at least y'all on YouTube can still hear me, so that's cool. Great. What's up, Tasha on Facebook? Good to see you. What's going on, cuz? Ricky Reed. What's up, Ricky Reed on Facebook? Good to see you. I went to school with Ricky. Ricky, we gotta connect. It's nice seeing like my classmates and stuff popping up. This is crazy. Yeah. I appreciate the little things. Okay. I know the video took a break. I wonder if it's going. I need to get back. I think I done messed this up. Cool. If you got a couple of questions, I'm more than happy to maybe address a couple of them as it makes sense. I'm very much off the cuff, as y'all can tell. I'm just, yeah, I'm just doing me. But anyway, I want to get back to talking about tokenism and the role and responsibility that everybody has to play in this. So one of the things that I'm a big fan of is encouraging people to share their narrative. And I've started an initiative where I encourage people to learn how to share their narrative and to talk about the differentness or the uniqueness that they bring to the table, or to talk about when they've seen diversity really work, or when they've seen the lack of diversity work against an organization or a company, or lack of diversity affect a situation in your personal life, whatever that is. And so I would claim that everyone has what I call a diversity narrative. Okay. Everyone has felt what it's like to be different from other people. Everybody's had that. I think I'm comfortable enough in saying that we've all felt that. We felt it in different measures, right? For some people, you maybe feel like you fit in for most of your life. You've always been in the in crowd. I guarantee you there's at least one time where you didn't feel that way. And so you can use that to connect with people who experience this much more frequently, okay? So what am I saying? I'm saying this works whether you're black or white. It works whether you're male or female. It works whether you're abled or a person who is less able. Either way, right? And so, learning how to share that narrative is important. One of the things I challenge anyone who meets me is, if you want to be a positive influence in this space, learn how to use your narrative and connect with people in an empathetic way to help them understand that you care, and to begin having authentic conversations with people who are different from you, right? That is, expose, be willing to be vulnerable, right? And to share situations in which you felt that differentness, and be willing to listen as other people talk about their experiences. That can be a great first step to really seeing change in the industry and in the space. Okay. And again, this is something anybody can do. And so I think if you're genuinely interested in, as an organization, if you're genuinely interested in avoiding tokenism, you'll have that conversation, not just with the people who are underrepresented, but also with the people who are well represented, and really make it more about how everyone can participate in the culture and all that. Okay. Katrina Turner on LinkedIn. Hi. Thank you for joining me this evening. I see that you have a couple of questions. What are the best sites to learn data structures? And can you share your thoughts on the best websites to view? Honestly, really, my only suggestion to you is to Google it. I mean, that's what I did. I mean, and the sites change all the time. So whatever sites I used when I was coming up are probably different than the sites that you might use now. So my first thing is just go Google it, okay? And pick what works best for you. I will say, of course, that I've got articles on my website at anthonydmays.com where I talk about interviewing tips and whatnot. You can link to it through any one of my social media profiles and find helpful articles that I have about the data structures and algorithms and all that stuff. So feel free to use my website and the articles I've written as a starting point, and to branch out from there. But like I said, so beyond that, I'll tell you some of my favorite websites, and I think I can remember them. So there's the careercup.com. I really like careercup.com. It's not an algorithms and data structures website per se, but they do go over like interview questions that you might encounter in a technical interview. And I really enjoy Career Cup. I like that it has a forum format. So people will post a question and then other people will give their responses. So you have to like look through the responses that people have left to figure out what the best answer is and to, watch the discussion. So I really like that. And I like that, when I was practicing for the interview, what I would do is, I would try to come up with a solution and then post it. And it was a little scary because, you worry about somebody else jumping on and be like, no, that solution's stupid. But I thought it was important for me to drum up the courage to actually like work on these real problems with the rest of the community and get an understanding for how they're thinking through it and how I might think through it. So that's one. There's, of course, Leak Code and HackerRank and all those kinds of websites. Some of them can be useful, but not everything there is useful. So don't just think that sticking to a daily regimen of Leak Code is going to solve all your problems, because it probably won't. You want to take a bunch of resources in aggregate. I'm a big favor of starting with Cracking the Coding Interview personally. That's the book that I used, and it was very helpful for me to just learn about the basics of algorithms and data structures, and then from there go and do more research. So for me, again, that's what it is. So the website that I mentioned, sorry if I mispronounced that, it's Career Cup, C-U-P, careercup.com. That website was founded by Gail Lackman McDowell, who is the same person who wrote Cracking the Coding Interview. So if you have Cracking the Coding Interview, probably on the back of the book, it has that website. Super useful. So that's what it is. Okay. So if you're looking for helpful advice, again, there's some articles on my website where I talk about what I did to prepare in about a month and a half's time. You can check that out. You can also check out Cracking the Coding Interview, which is a book that I highly recommend. Programming Interviews Exposed is also a good book. But I think between one of those two I think I can't remember the name of there's a third book out there too. But just some book like that to just expose you to the kinds of algorithms and data structures you might encounter is a good starting point. And then if you need more detail, go to Career Cup, HackerRank, Leak Code for practice problems. Or you can go to MIT OpenCourseWare for an actual CS 101 or data structures course, and you can actually take that and get the college level stuff. Or you can jump on stuff like, what's that website that I like? BigOCheatSheet.com. BigOCheatSheet.com has a great listing of common algorithms and data structures, the kind that you might encounter in an interview. So they've got that, as well as the Big O runtimes. They have the Big O. They've got the worst times, best times, and average case times. So you can go look all that up and just start digging into it a little bit more. Imani, how are you? Good to see you here on LinkedIn. I know you tag me in pretty much everything, so I appreciate you bringing to attention all the cool stuff that you run across. Really, I do very much appreciate it. All right, let me hop on to LinkedIn real quick. Oh, it's not LinkedIn. I'm on LinkedIn already. Let me hop on over to YouTube. See what's going on over here. As a woman in tech, so this is from Aaliyah Q. As a woman in tech, I'm often belittled in meetings by my male coworkers, and I don't know how to tackle while still being kind and polite. Do you have any suggestions? So first of all, I really sorry that you're experiencing that. You are not the first woman that I've talked to that's had that experience in tech, and I hate that happens. It's very unfortunate. I think that, so first of all, I think that you want to use the channels that your company provides to report that kind of behavior. I'm definitely a fan of approaching people one-on-one and saying, hey, this thing that you said or this thing that you did was inappropriate and was disrespectful, and I don't appreciate it. And again, doing that in a one-on-one setting, in a public place. I'm not saying go alone with somebody, but, in a public place saying, hey, I just wanted to let you know that this is how I perceive that. And I don't know if you intended to be malicious or not, but I don't appreciate it. And so, and if that doesn't work, then you may need to, escalate to a manager. If your manager is part of the problem, escalate to HR, so forth and so on. And so I think that you want to do those things, and you want to keep a paper trail and make sure that you have documentation. I would hope that there'd be other people in the room who can also stand up and be an ally and point out that that's disrespectful behavior on the spot. I would hope that there would be somebody in the room, and technically someone who's in a leader or management position should be the first to address and bring that up. But if that doesn't happen, you may need to escalate to HR. If there's a problematic culture within the company, you may just need to think about moving on. And so it's really hard to talk about any specific situation because I don't have all the details. And I'd love to dialogue with you about it. If you would like to hit me up on LinkedIn, that'd be great. And we can talk about it a little bit more. But yeah, if you can engage one-on-one and you feel comfortable with that, absolutely do that. If not, bring it up with the manager. If the manager isn't receptive or isn't doing the things, or if you feel like there's fear of retaliation, bring it up to HR. If you feel like it's still not being resolved, it just may not be a good place for you. And unfortunately, sometimes it happens that you end up on a not so good team. And, if you're interested in staying with the company, try to find another team that can be more receptive and helpful. But if not, you may have to move on. And it's an unfortunate thing, but that's what it is. So, I think it is important to be, to the extent that you can be, peaceable, kind, and polite. Again, as a Christian, I believe in loving my enemies. And I'm able to do that because I'm very intimately connected with my own wrong and my own evils. And so, yelling at someone has never helped anything. A soft answer turns away wrath. And so, being kind and polite and empathetic, I believe, is important, even when you feel that you're the victim. And so that's an approach that I take. It's one that I think has served me well, and it has avoided a lot of bad issues for me. And so, so that's that. I forgot to mention, thank you, Travis Garnett, for mentioning YouTube as an excellent resource. So again, 6 years ago when I was preparing for the technical interviews, I don't think that YouTube was as robust a resource as it is right now for learning about algorithms and data structures. That's definitely changed in the past 6 years. So even on I think it's the Google Developers channel, or on the Life at Google channel, you can find videos on technical interviews as they're executed at Google. And I wouldn't be surprised if you found videos for Facebook or whatever. I think Facebook did a thing not too long ago where they talked about the interview process there and had some engineers going through that process. So you can definitely find this stuff. Use YouTube as a resource. And I like YouTube because I'm a very visual learner and a little bit kinesthetic too. And so being able to watch a video and listen to something can be more helpful than reading it in a book. So thank you, Travis, for calling that out. Definitely use YouTube because that can be extremely helpful as a resource. Thank you to all of you who are joining me on Periscope, all 2 of you. Appreciate you. If I haven't killed that channel already, because I know I was messing up over here. Cool. Hey, Betty. Good to see you on Facebook checking me out. I really appreciate it. And Marilyn, good to see you as well. I miss you all. I really do. That's my family, y'all. Okay. Felipe Diaz. I'm a youth pastor in the church in Compton. What's up? That's what I'm talking about. Look, I know I'm not wearing my hat for the live stream, but I got it right here. It ain't that far away, okay? I'm still Anthony D. Mays, still repping the city. All right, I just, wanted to have a not hat day. How can I give advice to you to get into STEM, but at the same time balance church work and life? So I think that's a great question. And I think that, so first of all, I'll say that a lot of the work is probably done for you. Like you don't have to, there's not a lot of places that you have to look specifically for STEM resources and whatnot. I know the Compton Unified School District, by the way, has been doing quite a bit to bring more STEM awareness to students in schools. As a matter of fact, I'll be at the school district during CS Ed Week in Compton to talk to the students there. This will be my third year participating, and I love being able to have that chance. So you might try the school district to see what resources they have there. But a couple outside of that. So I always point folks to code.org. Code.org is a great place to go to get kids introduced specifically to programming and to orthogonal activities in the like software development space. So you can check out code.org and just basically put kids on a computer with code.org, let them go around and do some exercises. So that's all cool. But second of all, there's I know Google. So there's what is it called? csfirst.withgoogle.com. So csfirst.withgoogle.com, or just Google CS First. That's a program where you can get computer science curriculum for K through 12 students, and like you get materials for free, and you don't have to be someone who's an engineer or acquainted with the tech space to be able to use those materials and to start like a coding club. So check that out. Okay, definitely check that out. Let's see. One more thing that I want to just really quickly going back to what to do when you're in a situation where someone is belittling you or being aggressive, whatever. Hopefully, you have established good relationships with coworkers on your team or with people around you, people who are willing to be supportive of you in these situations. Okay. And so the reason why I say that is because you want people advocating for you and helping you out. So Amani, you did mention that witnesses are vital. And I think that is important. It's important to have people who can, if they see a situation going down, again, who can speak up for you or who can be witness to anything that's not right. Okay. So it's good. You won't be able to have that if you don't have good working relationships with people on your team, okay, or people in your office. So, Amani, I think that you do make a good point about making sure to have that and have support and support of people who are going to help you through that. So, again, it's anytime you're in that kind of situation, it's just already difficult by nature because no one wants to be in a situation where they're being belittled at work or not thought as highly of as they should be. You would like to think that in the workplace, you're going to be respected and treated as an equal, and that just isn't always the case. So, that can be difficult. But also, one of the things that I'll say, just piling on to this one more thing, having your receipts is important. Keep your receipts. What do I mean by that? As you're getting work done, as you're accomplishing things, make sure that you take note of that because it's not often that people aren't doing that for you. They're probably not doing that for you. Okay, so you need to keep track of the things that you successfully do. You need to keep track of the bugs that you fix, the features that you implement, the consultation that you provide. You want to make sure that you know what the usage numbers are for the things that you build. You want to keep track of how people are rating you. You want to ask people about how they've been positively impacted by your work, and you want to document all that. Maybe it comes in the form of an email. Save that email off. Put it in a special folder. Maybe there's a situation where you won an award. Make sure to tuck that somewhere. Anything that you can do to keep a healthy stash of of evidence and data that that backs up your effectiveness as an employee, you want to do that. Okay, so be responsible to do that, and then of course you also make sure that you get that on your resume. Okay, because it's going to be very important there. But one of the problems that particularly underrepresented people have coming to this space. Well, no, it's a problem that a lot of people have, whether you're well represented or not well represented, is particularly in tech, keeping track of the things that you accomplish, keeping track of the numbers and all this stuff. When I do resume reviews, the number one problem that people run into is that they don't document their accomplishments well, and they don't know how to talk about what they've accomplished. They're not even tracking the numbers correctly. There's an old saying in business: you cannot manage what you can't measure. You can't manage what you can't measure. You can't manage your career if you're not measuring the effectiveness of what you do and how well you do it. And so, again, I sort of hate to think this way, but I don't trust people. And I don't want anybody to ever say like, no, Anthony's a horrible worker. He don't get anything done. Like, you can try to come at me with that, but I can point you to code that I've written, features that I've implemented, blah, 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 lines of code, all this other stuff, right? I can point to documented evidence of the things that I built. And again, it's not about me being prideful or arrogant or anything like that. It's just about making sure that in the event that someone levies a charge against me, that I have proof that I'm doing the right things. And if I haven't been doing the right things, I'm going to appreciate the criticism. Like, you know what, you're right. I haven't been working as hard as I can be. Or you're right, I haven't been pursuing the right problems and the solutions for that. Or I haven't been as good a team player as I should. You know what? Absolutely right. I need to go work on that. And as I go start working on that, I'm going to make sure that I document the steps that I'm taking to move in the right direction. Okay. So that's all important. Cool. I think I'm about to wrap this up because I've been talking for long enough. Again, I really appreciate all of you that decided to join in. If you couldn't join in live, that's okay. This is all recorded, so that's cool. But I hope that this information is useful to you. If there are things that you would like to see me talk about in the future or speak on, please do let me know. I want to be helpful to this community, and I want you to understand that I really am invested in helping you succeed and in helping the next generation of underrepresented talent be well represented in the future, even well after I'm gone. So I hope that's all helpful. And last but not least, whether you consider yourself diverse or not diverse, or from an underrepresented background or from a well-represented background, whatever that may be, you have a responsibility in this tech culture to help make it more inclusive and diverse. And so if you ever want to know what things you can do to be helpful, you can always hit me up, and I'd be happy to share any wisdom that I may have on the topic. I'm here to be a resource. But again, as I mentioned earlier, it doesn't take a lot to have a conversation, to just have the boldness to sit down and to be vulnerable yourself and share, your experience, the experience that you've had of being different, or to share why you care about inclusion and representation, and to start working with other people and supporting them. So that's all that. Anyway, y'all have a good one. Appreciate you all. And I look forward to our next conversation. Peace.